Welcome back to the Global Business Report and Arise News. All right, so there is, of course, a public hearing that has been taking place with respect to the National Information Technology Development Agency Act to repeal that 2007 Act and to replace it with a new one. And there's some troubling provisions in that particular act. It's taking place, well, actually started at 9 a.m. and might still be continuing in Abuja as we speak. So here's one of the provisions in there. Circle, the agency shall have powers to, that's NITDA, to test and approve the use of information technology infrastructure and services before adoption in Nigeria. Let's take a look at another one that's been circled and troubling in startup culture here, or startup ecosystem. Regulate the activity and service of a platform service provider and social networking service provider that create, maintain, and make accessible to the public any device, tool, and application used for sharing and distributing information accessible in Nigeria. Joining us to discuss further, Iyin Aboyeji. He, of course, is the founder and general partner of Future Africa. Iyin, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you being flexible. Iyin, you were very instrumental in the startup bill. You were one of the, you put together the bill. You were in dialogue with the federal government. We all celebrated the startup bill when it was signed. When you compare what we're seeing in this provisions, in this draft for NITDA, what's your reaction, Iyin?
Yeah, good morning, and it's such a pleasure to be here with you. Can you hear me?
Yes, clearly. Thank you so much. I can hear you clearly. Go right ahead.
Fantastic. I think it's just a difference in consultation. This NITDA bill draft had shown up a while back, and there was a similar pushback from the ecosystem. But I'm not sure why the leadership of NITDA, even after some interesting engagement, didn't go forward to include more of our feedback in the bill, because this is directly opposing to the feedback that we had given NITDA. Again, the whole idea of engagement and why the Nigerian startup bill was successful was because we did actually engage with the ecosystem together with NITDA. And we actually incorporated the feedback from the ecosystem into the law. This feels tone deaf. This feels like, I'm hoping it's just an oversight. This feels like perhaps people in NITDA aren't listening to the ecosystem when we say provisions like the ones you have just highlighted do have the potential to reverse all the gains that we have made in Nigeria's digital economy. And this is why it's important that the bill is stopped in its tracks immediately.
So, Iyin, what can be done at this point? Because, or rather, is there an issue with the too many cooks spoil the broth, as they say? Because again, if you had such a good relationship and a good dialogue with this same government to craft the startup bill, are we dealing with another set of individuals? Why is this so different, with respect to what's been put forward? And as you said, they talk to you, or you gave them the feedback. So what do you think is happening?
Well, I think there's a tendency with some government officials that may not be very familiar with how the digital economy works, to imagine that it's an industry where they can rent seek. And it's a very strong sentiment that, there's all these billions of dollars in an industry. And so if they can control it, they can create another economy where it's possible for them to start to extract taxes. I mean, one of the more troubling provisions is to see the incredible expansion of powers that NITDA is seeking over and above a lot of other agencies who are rightfully regulating different other industries. I mean, they're literally proposing that they want to, take over regulation of payment from the CBN, take over regulation of social media from the NBC, take over regulation of different aspects. And, this bill has the potential to give NITDA the potential for incredible overreach such that we've never, ever seen in the history of this country before. And I think it's not just us that is worried. I think all the other government agencies should be extremely worried about the provisions of this bill, because the digital economy has permeated across multiple different aspects of our lives. And if NITDA becomes this super agency that can regulate every interaction that people have on the internet. Well, the broad powers of a lot of government agencies are in real trouble. So I think it's just an attempt at overreach that is unnecessary, that the tech ecosystem is not asking for, and that perhaps some misguided civil servant is just trying to input into the bill in a bid to take power through the back door.
Thanks. Yeah. So what happens now? Is it because the public hearing, as at the time on that notice started at 9 a.m. It's almost 12 noon here in Lagos now. So it started in Abuja. It might still continue. Maybe it's already over. But what going forward? Is it dialogue? What are you calling for now? I think
we will write to the government. We will write to the government and to every agency to let them know that NITDA is making this power grab at their regulatory ambits. We will definitely propose, and always willing to come back to the table with the government to say, here's a more productive way to look at what NITDA should be doing. And I think ultimately, we're not able to make it to the public hearing because we just received notice of this public hearing literally a few moments ago. This process has been the direct opposite of the process that delivered the Nigerian Startup Bill. And I think it's really for whoever is managing this process to really take the feedback that they do need to be building these rules in consultation with the ecosystem. Anything that is not done with us is not for us, and these things cannot be done without us.
Iyin, if you look back on 2022, how do you think the tech ecosystem, Future Africa is all over the continent, but I guess for Nigeria, if you want to speak for Nigeria specifically, how has the ecosystem, in your view, fared this year?
I think it's been an interesting year. That way, Future Africa does majorly invest in Nigeria. More than 48 of our over 100 investments are in Nigeria. So we're very Nigeria centric because we believe it's a key pillar of growth on the continent. And I think that what is happening in our ecosystem is that we're growing. There's a lot to do. Some of the Nigerian Startup Act was a major win for the ecosystem. But there are headwinds, right? The global economic conditions, particularly for the technology industry, is not smiling right now. And we are experiencing quite the constraints when it comes to talent. The same jackpot headwinds that are affecting a lot of global companies are affecting us. But I think that next year will be an opportunity for us to dig deep, to find new meaning in the work that we do, and really to partner with the government, whichever one is elected, to ensure that the digital economy continues to grow strong.
Speaking of growing strong, what about your outlook for next year? Are you optimistic that there'll be more growth, more startups, and how do you see next year turning out?
I think it would be exciting time. We are living in an unprecedented moment where capital is expensive, and talent is plentiful, especially on account of the several layoffs that are happening all over the world. And now that we have talent that is looking to build meaningful things, and they can do so from anywhere in the world post-COVID, you're going to see, if we position ourselves properly, a lot of this talented people from all over the world who have left come back to the country and build from here, because they don't really have any other choice. And that will create a wave of new startups that will solve real problems. And, for me, my own background has always been that we've built some of our most amazing companies in the middle of recessions. Andela was built during Ebola. Flutterwave was built during the 2016 Nigerian currency crisis. So we continue to believe that recessions are typically the best time to build. And so we're excited going into what is a terse economic environment, but one that we believe will ultimately unleash the ability of startups to create value from the digital economy.
Great stuff. What about jobs? Do you think that, and I know the economy, things are a bit tough now, but and thanks for mentioning Andela and Flutterwave and all these great companies that you helped to build. Do you think there's a route for job growth for youth through startups in the new year?
Absolutely. I think what's happening right now in the global economy is that a lot of companies are saying to themselves, well, maybe I don't need full capacity at this extreme expense. And they're looking to nearshore, offshore, remote work quite a bit of their capabilities. And this opens up opportunities for young people in Nigeria who have these skills to be able to participate in the global digital economy by, remote working for a number of these companies, because they're hiring talent from anywhere in the world right now in order to reduce their cost and increase their productivity. I think the key thing for us is really, what are we doing to ensure that we are rightfully positioned for this? I mean, 200,000 jobs in Ukraine gone as a result of the Russia-Ukraine war. What are we doing to prepare to fill that global technology talent gap? And this is why we need a government that's focused on the digital economy come 2023, so that we can work very closely with that government to ensure that the full potential of this industry is realized.
Iyin Aboyeji, General Partner of Future Africa, hand in Andela, hand in Flutterwave, so many great companies. We thank you so much for joining us to talk about this bill and the impact on the ecosystem. Really appreciate your time.